Chapter 4, Lesson 5, we are converting measurement units. Our content target and language target. Content, students will understand that measurement can be converted between larger and smaller units. How we'll do that today is our language target, which means students will demonstrate this understanding by solving problems that involve converting units of measure. So on page 290 in my math journal, I'm looking at converting larger units to smaller units. It says each relationship in the table can be written as a ratio. For example, you know that 1 yard equals 3 feet. You can use the ratio 3 feet to 1 yard to convert from yards to feet. Here's your chart. This table you will use for everything when you talk about converting units of measure. Okay, so we want to make sure that we have page 290 always open when we're dealing with units of measure. So like a unit rate, a unit ratio is one in which the denominator is 1 unit. So the ratio 3 feet to 1 yard is a unit ratio. Dimensional analysis is the process of including units of measure as factors when you compute. That's just saying that you have to have a label when you convert between larger units and smaller units. All of your answers today will have a label at the end. So when we look at example 1, convert 20 feet to inches. Okay, so I know I have to convert to inches. So inches is going to be on top. So how many inches are in there in a foot? Well, if I look at my chart, I know that 1 foot is 12 inches. So I write that as my ratio of 12 inches, because that's what I'm looking for, over 1 foot. Now, I have 20 feet. So I'm going to write that as a fraction of 20 feet over 1, because I have to have it as a fraction. And all whole numbers as a fraction is that number over 1. So now before I multiply, I'm going to simplify before I multiply, which means I notice that there's a common factor between 1 foot and 20 feet, and that's the feet. So I'm going to cancel those out. So now I only have 20 and I only have 1. Now I can multiply. What is 12 times 20? Well, 12 times 2 is 24, and I have a 0, so that means a 0 in the end. So then I multiply 1 times 1, and I get 1. So the number 2, the fraction 240 over 1 is the same as 240. Now remember I said we need to have a label. Inches is what we're looking for, so that has to be my label for my answer. So 20 feet is 240 inches. So let's take a look at these got it problems. If you look at the bottom of page 290, we're going to compare, we're going to complete 36 yards equals how many feet? So feet is what I need to know. So on page 290, I'm going to look, and it says that there are 3 feet in 1 yard. So because I'm looking for feet, 3 feet is my numerator. 1 yard is my denominator. And I'm going to do 36 yards. And again, that's over 1. So before I multiply, I am going to get rid of the yards, because I no longer want yards, I only want feet. So then I multiply 3 times 36. Well, I'm not sure what that is, so I'm going to switch over here and take 3 times 36, which is 108. So I go back over here. That's going to equal 108. 1 times 1 is 1. So any number over 1 is that number. So I have 108. What am I looking for? Feet. Letter B, 3/4 of a ton equals how many pounds? So I want to write how many pounds there are in 1 ton. So if I look again, we're looking at weight. And it says that 1 ton equals 2,000 pounds. So 2,000 pounds is 1 ton. We have 3/4 of a ton. Okay. The T in tons cancel out because I only want pounds. And now I can multiply. I multiply 2,000 times 3, which is 6,000. I take 1 times 4, which is 4. Now I have a larger number over a smaller number. It's an improper fraction, so I have to divide. I take 6,000 and I divide that by 4. So I'm going to go back to my calculator. I'm going to take 6,000. 6,000, I'm going to divide that by 4, and that gives me 1,500. So that is 1,500 pounds. And the last one is 1.5 quarts equals how many pints? Well, again, before I start, I know that there are 2 pints in 1 quart. 2 pints in 1 quart. But I have to change this right here. I have to change that to an improper fraction. So 1.5, I multiply 1 times 2. 1 times 2 is 2. I add that to my numerator. 1 plus 2 is 3. My 2 stays the same. So that's going to be 3 over 2. So now I multiply. Oops, I'm sorry. This one here is quarts. So the quarts cancel each other out. So now I multiply. 2 times 3 is 6. 1 times 2 is 2. So here I have that improper fraction again. So I'm going to divide 6 divided by 2. When I do 6 divided by 2, I get 3. And we're looking for pints. So there are 3 pints and 1.5 quarts. So if you look at example 2, we're talking about a story problem. It says Marco mixes 1/4 cup of fertilizer with soil before planting each bulb. How many fluid ounces of fertilizer does he use per bulb? So we're looking at comparing 1/4 cup, and we want to know how many ounces that is. So again, if I look at page 290, I see that there are 8 ounces in 1 cup. 8 ounces, 1 cup. And I have 1/4 cup of fertilizer. So I have 1/4 cups. So before I multiply again, I simplify before I multiply. Take away the cups because there's cups on both sides. I want ounces. So now I can multiply. 8 times 1 is 8. 1 times 4 is 4. So now I have that improper fraction again. So I have to take 8 and I divide that by 4. And 8 divided by 4 is 2. 2 what? We're looking at how many ounces. So there are 2 ounces equals 1/4 cup. So if we look at our got it problem there on page 291, it says Jen runs 1/8 of a mile before tennis practice. How many feet does she run before practice? So I want to know how many feet. So that means I have to have how many feet are there in a mile? Well, on page 290, it says that there's 5,280 feet in 1 mile. I need to find out how many feet that is, so I'm going to multiply that by 1/8 of a mile. So again, before I multiply, I want to cross out my miles because I'm looking for feet. So when I multiply, I get 5,280 times 1, which is 5,280. 1 divided by 8, 1 times 8 is 8. So to find out how many feet are in 1/8 of a mile, I take 5,280 divided by 8. So I go back to my calculator. 5,280 divided by 8 equals 660 feet. And again, my label's feet because I'm looking for feet. So now if we convert smaller units to larger units, remember that the ratios 1 yard to 3 feet and 3 feet to 1 yard are equivalent. So to convert from smaller units to larger units, choose the ratio that allows you to divide out the common units. Okay, so in case this one, we're going to have 12 over 1. So 12 feet and 3 feet. So notice that these two now will cancel out. So that's what we're looking for now. Okay. So when I look at my example number 3, convert 15 quarts to gallons. All right. So I need to know how many quarts there are in a gallon. So I know there are 4 quarts in a gallon. So since we're looking for gallons, I have 1 gallon is 4 quarts. I have 15 quarts. So that's my 15 quarts over 1. Notice what I'm looking for is always at the top. It's always the numerator. I cross out my quarts, simplify before I multiply, and then multiply. 1 times 15 is 15. 4 times 1 is 4. Make that in the simplest form. I have 15 divided by 4. That's going to give me a decimal. Okay? But if I go, see if I can do this real quick. If I go to my Clever page, and you go to Mr. Cutsforth's Clever page, Mr. Cutsforth is that big purple polar bear right there. He has calculators for you. So if I need to simplify a fraction, right here it says simplifying fractions. I'm going to click on that. It takes me to a website. I want to know what is 15 fourths. So I type in my fraction and I simply hit calculate. And then it tells me right here what my new fraction is, which is 3 3/4. Gallons. Okay, so we're going from small to large. So my numbers are going to be a lot less. So let's take a look at our got it problems on page 291. We want to know how many miles there are in 2,640 feet. So we know that miles is what I'm looking for, so it starts up here. I know 1 mile is 5,280 feet. I know that I have 2,640 feet. Again, I cancel out my feet before I multiply, and then I multiply. 2,640 times 1 is 2,640. 5,280 times 1 is 5,280. So I need to put this into simplest form. So I'm going to go back to my simplest form calculator, and I'm going to type in 2,640, and my denominator is going to be 5,280. Now I'm going to go calculate, and it tells me it's the fraction of 1/2. So 2,640 feet equals 1/2 mile. Letter F says 100 ounces equals how many pounds? So again, I'm going to look on page 290. We'll look on page 290, and it says that pounds and ounces. There's 16 pounds in 1 ounce. So 1 pound